Well, hello, everyone. This is Mario, and I want to welcome you back to Leadership Corner. This is a place where we can have some conversations on how we can be more intentional in our disciple making in every part of life, and have Brittany here today with us. Brittany is just an amazing, amazing woman. I get to spend time with her. She's part of our culture team. And one of the things I love about her and the whole Kearby family so much is that they are so intentional about reaching their neighbors. And they do something pretty unique in the way that they go about it. And that's more than just kind of a drop in the bucket. They have a way of just investing in people, a real face-to-face, which is just so awesome. And what I love about it is their ability to continue to do so in the pandemic. And so we're just going to unpack some of that during today, because I don't know about you, but that is one of the things that I have a really hard time with. And so, Brittany, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Mario. Those are nice things to be said. We could stop here.
Well, they're all true. So Brittany, we have people that are checking this out that are on just the spectrum of their disciple making. Some are probably a whole more like me that reaching outside of our comfort zones is really hard. We might call ourselves introverts. And then there's others who just they love to be in conversation. I'll say it that way. They just love to be bumping up against people. They start relationships really easy. And, as we're in this time and in this season, it's really unique. And I have acquaintances that are sitting in my neighborhood that honestly, it feels like many times they're better neighbors to me than I actually am to them. And I really want to go about that differently in this year. Like, I want to be intentional about investing in their life. And so I'm just wondering, what does that look like for you? And do you have anything to offer around that?
I think the why is probably the most important thing to us, is why it's important. And I think that it was easy for us to kind of look at church ministry and to think that's where we needed to invest all that we were. But then I feel like God really opened our eyes to say, like, are you going to be faithful with the few that are in your circle right now? Mm. And so one thing that we heard was God doesn't get your address wrong. And so if this is my mission field, I just really want to be intentional here. And anytime you're with people, it's always going to be different. My neighbors are different than your neighbors. But we found that no matter what kind of neighborhood you have, whether you rent or you own, or if you're there long-term or short-term, God definitely can use you if you open yourself up to that. And so I think there's different ways to go about it. Like I said, you have different kinds of neighbors. So some of our neighbors are really closed off and they don't really maybe necessarily want much of a relationship. And then you have other ones that, like you said, are better neighbors than you are probably. And so that's kind of funny, but I think so you're going to adapt to all of that. But in that, I think being consistent and you just have to keep trying, keep making yourself available is probably one of the key things. It's easy to get discouraged and to say like, oh, they don't really, they pull in their garage and they don't even wave. So they must not like me, or they must not want a relationship with me. Right. And I don't think that's always the case. That might just be what they're used to. Mm-hmm. And so any sort of little small feats, but it's kind of inconvenient, I think, at times. You have to really be intentional about looking for them and seeing what they do. Mm-hmm. It's always good for me to see like what world do they live in, and then trying to connect in that way. So then you can build them up and encourage them as you see them with their kids, or you see that they're into boating. I mean, just you're a neighbor, you're going to see their life probably better than most people do. They know your life. They know what time you go to work, and they know what time you come home. Mm-hmm. And so I think starting there sounds really probably elementary, but it's a good place. Right.
The why is huge.
Yeah. And then I think a lot of times we think that I don't know if you think this as a Christian, but sometimes as a Christian, I think that I have to have it all together. Yep. And then I have to be the one that provides, like, meets their needs and is the one that's on it. And I've just found that not to be true at all. Mm. And so a lot of times what has started a relationship is me actually accepting the help or the offer from them. Mm. And so a relationship is never going to be great if it's only one-sided, right? If you're the one that's always providing everything for me, you're going to get burned out and exhausted, and I'm going to feel like you think I'm needy. So that's not going to work. It has to go both ways. And so taking it up on them, maybe being the first one to say, oh, you invited me over for dinner? Yes, I'm going to come to your house. Maybe that's where they feel the most comfortable. Or we've had to ask for help with our dog. And so that was one way that we really started a relationship with one of our neighbors. As we led a discipleship group, one of our members wasn't as comfortable with our dog, and we knew another neighbor that had dogs that got along really well with ours. So we started there and just said, would you watch our dog for these 2 hours on a Sunday night? Which sounds weird, but for some reason that started it. And we now have I feel like a really great relationship. My daughter's gone over there for baking lessons with them, just different things. But I noticed at first it didn't seem to be going anywhere until we were the ones that first said, yeah, we need help. Can you help us? And so I think it just depends on the people, but keep with it, be persistent, pray for opportunities. It's amazing to see how God opens the door when you're in faithful prayer, is you're also looking intentionally. And so make sure those things are lined up. But yeah, I don't know if that quite answers the question, but those are some things that have really helped us to start and to get going, and then invite people in what you're already doing. I don't know. I like to read a lot. I found out another neighbor liked to read. So we've talked about starting a book club, or she tells me the books that she's reading. And so if there's something that you like to do, maybe you like biking or walking or something like that, start there. Start with what you already are doing. I know it can be exhausting to think of adding one more thing into your schedule.
Yeah.
But we lived in a neighborhood for years before moving to Paulsbo. And there was a gal and her husband had recently passed away. And I am going, okay, I think I was 23 years old. I had a baby, like I'm a second kid. And I was going, what in the world do I have to offer this woman? I know nothing. And I don't even know if she wants to know me. And I happened to pass her one day and said, would you ever want to go for a walk? And that seemed to be the spark that we started with. So we would just do this loop in the other neighborhood every other week. And that was kind of our relationship. That was pretty much it. So yeah, just start with where you're at.
Yeah. And I guess that's one of the things that I think can be difficult for me, is like, especially during this pandemic, it's like, I feel all the restrictions, right? I mean, it's like, am I supposed to, like, what can I do? What can't I do? And that layer added on to what already feels difficult in terms of reaching out, it just feels like now that we have this COVID layer, it's like, what's the point in even starting? I mean, why even go out and do it is almost what it feels like, because there's just so many layers upon layers of things to get through to even try to reach out to my neighbors. Do you have any things that would be like helpful to help me get beyond that thought of this is just too difficult?
Well, I think at first it is really discouraging. I mean, a lot of the things that we had done up to this point, we couldn't do, and that was really sad. Yeah. But in some ways it makes it a whole heck of a lot simpler, right? Mm-hmm. Because I have this these list of things that I'm going to say that I am currently given like the green light on, right? And so I like to start there. We've talked before about just that, starting inside the box. So look at what you have currently at your disposal and just start with that. So if that's going to be, you can do things outside, then do things outside. So rather than look at that as a restrictive thing, I think it just is a really good starting block. It's always hard for me to give people like, do this and do this, because it kind of robs you of that creativity, Mario. You're so much different than I am, but and the people that you're with are different. So I would just start with, what do you currently have at your disposal? If it's a financial thing, what do you currently have? Is it going to be, is that the big block for you? Is it that your home isn't the space that you feel most comfortable bringing people into? Okay, well then, what else can you do? Can you walk to a park together? So just look at like what right now is inside of your box. Are you comfortable going for a walk with somebody? Start there. Or is it going to be digital? But anyways, I would just start. I like I said before, I think it's just that what are the few things you have, and how can you be faithful right there? Yeah. And before getting distracted by all the what ifs and I wish, there's always going to be so many of those, but they're just going to slow you down. So I would just start with, okay, where are we at right now? In the summer, it looks different than where we're at right now. And so, I mean, it's so hard. We host a Christmas party every year with our neighborhood. I couldn't do that this year. So we were going, okay, well, what can we do? And so we had fun putting together our family Christmas parties to go kits for all the neighbors. Yes. And so it sounds so silly, but it was something like, well, we can do that. We can drop this over. And it ended up being like a little family night thing for those with kids. And so that's what we could do, right? Mm-hmm. And we could have got really caught up on, well, man, well, we even talked about postponing it to when we could do a big outdoor gathering. But even that just seemed like if we would have waited, we would have missed some things really special. And so don't wait. Just look at what you've got right now at your disposal and start there.
That's so good. I love that idea. Look inside the box, and you ask that question, like, what can we do? Like it almost kind of has like an italicized, like, what can we do? And go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's challenging. It's challenging
It
me.
is. It's so exciting, though. I always just think, like, when there's a challenge, I get so excited. I'm like, okay, wait, I'm created in the image of God, and he's a creative person. Like, he's creative, right? He's the creator. So I just think, okay, what are we going to do? Because you've given me the tools to accomplish. Like, he's given you everything you need to be obedient, and he's not going to ask you to do something he hasn't already provided you the tools to do it with. And so rather than look at all the obstacles, go, okay, well, apparently that's not what I need to focus on right now.
Yeah. Now you're preaching, and that's just going deep. Come on. That is good. No, I appreciate that. And I think that for many of the people listening, like if we just took what it is you just said right there and recognize we do have the Spirit of God within us. We do have that creativity. What can we do? Start with what we have. My goodness, what a difference that would make versus that mentality, like coming in and saying, what can't we do? I really appreciate that. And we all have people around us that we can do this with, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, starting, like I said, we start small with the people that are in your circle, in your sphere. I think that we like to go like everybody's our neighbor. That's what the Bible says. And that's so true. That's so true. So yes, treat everybody with that same love. However, there are specific people, the people that you are cohabitating with, whether it's roommates or your family. There's the people that you're next to at work, and then there's the people that you live next to. And so when Adam and I are discouraged, we go back to that. Okay, wait, God didn't get our address wrong. This is where we're supposed to be on purpose for this season. And so whether my neighbors like me or not, and whether I prefer them, it doesn't really matter. And so just praying that he would open those doors. And my goal with my neighborhood isn't that they're all going to be, radically saved next year. And I've got this big charge. I don't think that's it either. And so that took a lot of pressure off of me, because in the beginning that was my focus. Like, I have to get every single one of these people to church. But now it's just fun. I love them, and I pray for them, and I want them to meet Jesus and to know him. But right now, I also need them to know that I love them, and I'm happy to be in relationship with them. And so taking a lot of that pressure off of me has freed me up to put it back on Jesus and to be obedient with the few things that he's given me right now.
That is really good. I appreciate that. And so for those of us that are out here that want to take a next step in this, do you have any good resources that you would recommend to just kind of take what you said and kind of take it a next step further to put it into action?
I think I would say the Bible. No. I think Pastor Tom said that in the last thing he said.
It's a good resource. I hope everybody says that.
Yeah. It's so true, though, because you can't look at like the love of Jesus and not realize like that's what we get to have. And so if it feels really strenuous or off, or, it's going to cost you something. A lot of times my dinner's late because I want to make sure I connect with people that are outside. And so it's going to cost you something, but it doesn't need to be this crazy big burden. So I would just keep checking it back to the Word of God and saying, okay, Jesus, am I just extending your love through me? So the Bible, Bob Goff, Love Does, that has inspired us a ton in how we live, even down to we've had a parade. He talks about hosting a parade for your neighborhood. But we had a dog parade for the birthday of a dog. And so Bob Goff, and then Rosaria Butterfield. I'm so sorry. I said that wrong. She has a book called The Gospel Comes with a House Key. That one is phenomenal. And with that, she also has a blog. And I've talked about her before where she had a article on hospitality in a pandemic. Sorry, I have to remember it all. But there's just some key elements there on kind of navigating the different things and how are we obedient to Jesus in the midst of a pandemic. And obviously, please listen to the Spirit, what's right for you and your conviction. But it was something that was really helpful to me because it showed me okay, I still have to practice this hospitality that Jesus has called each of us to in the midst of this pandemic, right? Obedience to Jesus doesn't get put on pause because COVID exists. And so, so how can I, one, honor that, and then also be obedient to Jesus? So she had some good ideas in there.
Okay. Well, that's something that we can definitely put in the description below, so you guys can have the link. These are great resources. Brittany, I just want to say thank you, because this is awesome. Like, I'm ready to just go meet my neighbors right now and do all I need to do, just because what I can do, right, versus what I can't do. I just think that that's encouraging, inspiring, and the words that we need during this time with all that's going on. So I want to say thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's so fun. This is my favorite thing to talk about by far.
Well, it's clear. It comes out of you so well. So everyone, just want to say thanks for tuning in this week. Want to encourage you to check out those resources below. I'll have links to them all. Great books, great resources to check out. And I just want to encourage you, just make the most of the opportunities that you have with your neighbors, with the people around you, and we'll see what God does with that, right? Well, thanks for joining in, and we'll see you next time.